He served his country with pride, lost a leg in combat, returned home with honor, only to face judgment in a courtroom that couldn't see past the scars. When a judge ordered a disabled black veteran to stand during sentencing, the courtroom held its breath, but no one expected what happened next. A moment so powerful, so human, it left the entire room in tears. His name was Marcus Bryant, a 36-year-old Marine Corps veteran, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, father, son, community mentor, and now a defendant. Marcus had been charged with obstruction and resisting arrest after a confrontation with police outside a VA clinic, one that escalated far too quickly and far too violently. The media only showed the mugshot, not the prosthetic leg, not the PTSD diagnosis, not the fact that Marcus had been helping another homeless vet who was denied treatment that day. The courtroom was packed, veterans in faded uniforms, community members. Marcus's mother sat in the front row, gripping the flag he had received when he came home from Afghanistan. He sat at the defense table, wearing a simple suit. One leg was metal, the other shook slightly under pressure. The prosecutor called him aggressive, disrespectful to law enforcement, uncooperative. Marcus said nothing. He just stared ahead, jaw tight, eyes clear. Then it was time for sentencing. That's when the judge spoke the words that shocked the room. "Mr. Bryant, please stand." Gasps echoed. Whispers filled the courtroom. Marcus hesitated, then slowly reached for the edge of the table, trying to hoist himself up. He wobbled, struggled. "He's disabled," someone shouted from the back. But the judge repeated, "Mr. Bryant, you will stand before this court." Marcus tried again. His prosthetic leg shook. He groaned softly. Pain etched into every line of his face. Tears welled in his mother's eyes. But then something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a man stood up in the gallery. Then another. Veterans. Old, young, black, white, uniformed, civilians. They rose, one by one without being asked. A silent salute. Marcus looked around, shocked, humbled. He finally gave up trying to rise and sat back down, tears streaming silently. That's when the judge paused. He removed his glasses. His voice cracked. "Mr. Bryant, I'm sorry." Judge Charles Millstone was known for being strict. By the book, no nonsense. But what the courtroom didn't know, what he hadn't told anyone, was that his own brother had served and died overseas. He looked at Marcus. "I asked you to stand because I believe no man should face the court seated when judgment is passed. But I forgot something far more important. What you've already stood for. A beat of silence. You served with honor. You sacrificed. And while the law may still require me to pass sentence, I will not do so without recognizing the man behind the file." The courtroom waited, silent. The prosecution had asked for 6 months in jail. The judge, however, ruled time served, probation, and court-mandated PTSD treatment through the VA system, which this court will personally oversee compliance for. Gasps, claps, tears. The bailiff motioned for quiet, but even he was wiping his eyes. As Marcus stood to leave, this time with the help of 2 fellow Marines, he turned to look at his mother. She smiled. He whispered, "I stood, Ma. I stood." She clutched his Bronze Star close to her chest. "You never stopped," she replied. That courtroom moment didn't make the front page. The big networks passed it by, but a local reporter caught it all on camera, posted it to social media. 1.2 million views in 24 hours. The caption read, "Judge asks disabled veteran to stand." What happened next made a nation stop and think. People from all over the country commented. Veterans groups, law students, activists, police officers. That courtroom taught more about justice in 2 minutes than law school did in 2 years. One user wrote, "Instead of disappearing after his trial, Marcus used the moment. He started Stand For Us, a nonprofit that provides legal and mental health support for disabled veterans of color. He began speaking at schools, prisons, and courtrooms. Respect shouldn't come after prison. It should come after service, after sacrifice, after survival." His TED Talk, titled "The Day I Was Ordered to Stand," now has over 5 million views. 6 months after the sentencing, Marcus received a letter in the mail. It was from Judge Millstone, handwritten. "You reminded me that standing doesn't always mean rising from a chair. Sometimes it means standing through the pain. You've done more for justice than I ever have from behind a bench. With respect, Charles Millstone." Inside was a donation to Marcus's nonprofit. Today, Stand For Us has helped over 500 veterans receive representation, housing, and mental health treatment. Marcus says he never expected any of this. He just wanted to help others avoid what he went through. "I was trained to protect people," he says. "Now I do it without a uniform." At a National Veterans Conference 2 years later, Marcus was honored with Citizens Medal for Service Beyond Duty. As he was wheeled onto the stage, his prosthetic leg now worn proudly in military green, the entire crowd stood. Thousands of people, veterans, judges, politicians, families, and in the front row, Judge Charles Millstone, crying, clapping. He mouthed 2 words. "You stood." In a courtroom where judgment was passed, a lesson was learned about humility, about humanity, and about the strength it takes to stand, even when you can't. Because justice isn't always black and white. Sometimes it wears a uniform and walks with a limp.